everyone. Welcome to join our information session about the ESSEC Global MBA program. My name is Johnny. I'm the GMB recruiter, and welcome to our session. It's our honor to invite two gentlemen for today's session as well. So we have a Jason from GMAC, and we have a Mba from Prodigy Finance. So tonight we will provide the one-stop services for you. And for Jason's presentation, we'll guiding you how to prepare for the Gmat test, and for the Mba session, we'll provide you the solution about the Prodigy Finance, how to support you for MBA studies. Okay, so it's my honor to introduce these two gentlemen for you guys. And let's start from the presentation by Jason. Jason will talking about everything about the Gmat test. Okay, welcome to Jason.
Thanks very much, Johnny. Good evening, everyone. As Johnny said, I'm Jason Lawrence, based with GMAC in Hong Kong. So just to give some background, I've been with GMAC for about 7.5 years in Hong Kong. And previous to this, I was at KAIST College of Business in South Korea for a period of time. So tonight I'm going to cover the Gmat exam, just a sort of run through of how it's used, the structure of it. Obviously, questions, more specific questions about how it's used, it's worthwhile reaching out to Johnny and Aaliyah to talk about ESSEC and how they use it. But I'll get straight into it. And at the end of the presentation, hopefully we'll have some time left over for a few questions. So there we go. The very first thing to remember for Gmat is to go to mba.com. All the information I present is from mba.com. Some of these screens, like this one, is actually a screenshot. So it's the first stop shop for information about the Gmat exam. There's no secrets out there. This is where all the information is. This is the official information. And there are always changes taking place. So I would, even after this presentation, suggest you go there. And most importantly, create an mba.com account. When you create an mba.com account, there's also the database GMAS, which we recommend schools access. It's part of the registration process. And so for Gmat, Gmat's very important, obviously, for business schools. It's a standardized assessment, and it's a way of proving that people are of a certain standard when they're applying for their MBA or their business masters. And it's one of the few pieces of your application you can control. You can control that through how many times you take the exam, what score you achieve. And so those are things to consider. So very importantly, the Gmat exam was created over 60 years ago. It was created by business schools for business schools. It also measures the skills in demand by today's employers. And there are more than 6,000 programs around the world that use the Gmat exam. So there's a number of myths that we address. One of them is I need a high score. So everybody seems to think they need 750, 770, 800. It very much depends upon the school. I would advise that you talk to ESSEC directly to see if there is a cutoff or what their average score is something else for you to consider. So when applying to ESSEC, business schools generally look at the entire package. So Gmat is just one part of the application. So business schools will look at you, what your work experience is, obviously your undergraduate performance. That may vary in its importance based upon the requirements, leadership skills, motivations, being motivations for doing the program, extracurricular activities. So what we basically say is that if everyone knows the Big Bang Theory, you have Dr. Sheldon Cooper. He would not be an ideal MBA candidate because whilst he's academically gifted, he lacks a lot of the other skills, the soft skills and so forth, that business schools look for. They want someone who fits in and will fit in well with their classmates. So the Gmat exam, it's a computer adaptive test. What that means is if you get a question right, the next one's more difficult. If you get it wrong, the next one's easier. It also means you cannot skip a question and you cannot go back. So every question counts. So adaptive testing is more accurate, it's more efficient, it's more secure, but one of, or arguably the most important skill for doing the Gmat exam is time management, because of the fact that you can't go back and you can't skip questions. So practice is very important. When people ask, what's the best strategy for the Gmat exam? It's basically practice. Learn the format of the exam, the structure, learn your strengths and weaknesses, and very importantly, how to manage the time. So breaking down the Gmat exam, as you all know, there is now the Gmat and the Gmat Online. So there are options. The availability of the Gmat, being the test center Gmat, depends upon the country and what restrictions they have in place regarding social distancing. So if you're based in Singapore, you can probably go to the test center, but there may be a limit of only 50% capacity. So that's something that's important when deciding which exam to take, whether you do online or test center. And it's also important when booking, should you do the test center, because you need to book early enough to make sure you're able to get a seat. In particular, if you feel you need to retest, you want time to be able to do that. So the two exams are the same, they're delivered differently, that's the main difference. So the purpose, the skills, the content and the structure. The writing at the moment is not included in Gmat Online, but the rest of it's the same. The scoring is the same because obviously writing is scored separately. The control, flexibility, and very importantly for both candidates and even more importantly for schools, the trust and the credibility is there for both exams. So again, delivered differently, the delivery model, test-taking experience. Some people do prefer being in a test center because of the fact that they just feel that it's more of an exam environment. However, some people feel more relaxed at home, or they don't like being in a test center with other people because if someone's sneezing or coughing, it's a distraction. Whereas at home, you can shut the door and you can do it in quiet and in privacy. The Gmat Online has proctoring as well, so that's something to consider. So this is the structure for the Gmat Test Center version. There's analytical writing, which is half an hour, integrative reasoning, or IR, which is half an hour. Then we have quant, which is an hour, and verbal, which is an hour. So it's approximately 3 hours, and there are 2 optional 8-minute breaks. So candidates for the test center Gmat, they have the option of doing quant or verbal first. People sometimes ask which one's better, and it depends upon you. Some people, if they're stronger at verbal, they might want to do verbal first so that they start on a strength. Other people might say, well, I would prefer to do quant first to get it out of the way, and then I can relax a bit more when doing verbal. So there's no real difference that we're aware of as to which one will make you perform better. It comes down to how you prefer to do an exam. So this is the Gmat Online structure. It's approximately 3 hours. There's a 15-minute check-in process, which is setting everything up. And then obviously quant, verbal, and IR at the end. As you can see, there's an optional 5-minute break just before IR. And as with the Gmat Test Center, the score is still 200 to 800. So for Gmat, and I'm just going to minimize Johnny's handsome face. So as I said, Gmat measures the skills needed for business school. And that starts off with analytical writing, which is analysis of an argument. So it's taking an informed position, writing clearly and effectively. We then have integrated reasoning, or IR. So IR is something that we do every day in life. GMAC has just given it a fancy name, and that is where you take different pieces of information, put it together, and get the answer. So IR consists of multi-source reasoning, table analysis, graphics interpretation, two-part analysis. Quant is your problem solving and data or data sufficiency. And then verbal, the reading, critical reasoning, sentence correction. So how to evaluate arguments and so forth. So these are just examples of some of the questions. I'm not going to spend time on them. I'm just showing you what they look like to give you an idea, but you probably have already seen these. IR comes in different formats. So you have where it could be yes, no, or it could be a true, false. So you have multi-source reasoning, yes, no, table analysis, true, false, graphics interpretation, drop-down menus to select, and then the calculation on the right, which is two-part analysis. This is quant. So another myth is that you need advanced mathematics. As it says here, it's at a 10th grade mathematics level. So basic algebra, geometric concepts, logic skills, analytical thinking. So these are some of the skills to consider. And here are just some examples. So B, the next one is going to be A. And then verbal reasoning, as you can see here, verbal reasoning, we've got an A, another A, and then a B. So the exam, very importantly, works for you. For registering for the Gmat exam, the only place you can register is on mba.com. So you can choose a test center there. The few things to know, it's $250 US each time you do the test. Check that, because I believe some markets are different now. So check the pricing. You can test 5 times in a 12-month period with a 16-day wait between each exam, and the score is valid for 5 years. You can also send to 5 programs free of charge. Obviously, ESSEC is going to be one of them. But Gmat online registration, appointments slots are available 24/7 in 15-minute intervals, and you can review your score free of charge. So again, very quickly, Gmat online exam at a glance, the same content and construct, no writing. The score scales remain the same. It's 1 optional 5-minute break versus 2 8-minute breaks. There's the option of a physical whiteboard or built-in online whiteboard. You may have heard a lot about that when the exam was first released. There's a built-in online calculator for IR. The last point's actually incorrect. There's now you can do the exam twice. And delivery, there's a remote human proctor for check-in and exam delivery. It's by Pearson VUE's on-view system. So should you do a test center Gmat, it's passport only that's accepted. The US and I think China allow different forms of ID, but other parts of the world it's passport only. There is a palm vein scan, so the security is very strict. Nothing goes in except you, nothing comes out except you. Going to the whiteboard options for the Gmat online, you have the option of physical or online whiteboard, or you can use a combination of both. There are some limitations to the size of the whiteboard, so make sure you check on mba.com about that. One thing, if you are doing the online version of the whiteboard, the number one tip is to practice. A lot of candidates, when the online whiteboard was released, struggled to handle it. So make sure you practice to become proficient in how to use the online whiteboard. And I put the link there, www.mba.com/gmatonline, for some information and to access the practice there. So before the exam, these are a few things to consider. ID verification. Make sure you have the information with you. You can't sort of just say, wait, hold the exam, I'll go back home and get it. This is for the online. You'll have to lock down the browsers. There's a live human proctor. There's recording. There's the whiteboard inspection. Again, close all applications on the computer. And there is actually, there are restrictions you can find on mba.com. For example, having a drink, you can't have a cup like this. You have to have a clear glass. Even talking, if you're someone who talks during the exam, talks to yourself, you'll have to be aware of that, because you could even be pulled up by the proctor for talking. And then the workspace and environment review is about moving the camera around so that the program can look at the room that you're in. So it's very important that you access 15 to 20 minutes beforehand. So Gmap preview your score. It's a way of improving your results by knowing how you performed. A detailed analysis, should you be interested in taking the exam again, and you can focus on which areas to study for the next time. So I'm just being conscious of time. Gmat online sending for your scores, email notification of scores ready within 7 business days. You can access your score via your mba.com account, review the scores. And this is, should you be wanting to retest, you might want to consider an enhanced score report. This gives a breakdown of your performance. You can see the time aspect, the mean time for all test takers, how you performed, your mean score and the percentile. If you've done the exam once and you're happy with the result, I don't think you really need this unless you're just curious to see how you performed. It is around $30 US. But if you're retesting, it might be something for you to consider. So how much time should you spend preparing? In Asia Pacific, it's around 100 hours, especially for the higher scores. That's partly because Asia people have a culture of preparing for exams in more detail. Therefore, funnily enough, even though it's a higher median number for the hours of preparation, people are just sort of used to preparing more. And so they're quite happy to do that. It provides additional confidence. There are study aids. So on mba.com, you can find all of the official prep material. We recommend you use our material because our material uses retired Gmat questions. So you're actually doing proper Gmat questions. One of the first things you would look at is doing the Gmat official prep. There are 2 practice exams available on mba.com free of charge. Our advice is that you download one and then it's done online now. You do one exam, find out your score, which is your base, and then from there you can decide how much practice you need. And after a certain amount of practice, do the next exam and see how much you've improved. So as I said before, mba.com, this is a place where all of the information is available. This is where you register for the Gmat exam. You get application tips. You've already attended this webinar, so my other advice very much would be to reach out to Johnny and Aaliyah to ask Ask them as many questions as you can. They might not like it, but my advice to candidates when talking to schools is to always send the school home tired. Make them earn their keep. So ask as many questions that you feel are relevant, get as much information about ESSEC, about the program or programs that you're considering at ESSEC, and that'll make it much easier for when you choose to study and you enter into their program. So on that note, are there any questions?
Okay, thanks so much, Jason. We leave some time for candidates, so they will raise up the questions here. But before that, I have some questions for you, which is when I consult a student, they are asking about the difference between online Gmat and offline Gmat. So I just wondering to know, in terms of the difficult level, is there any difference between these two tests?
No, there's no difference because they're the same questions that you're getting. They're using the same question bank. It basically, obviously the Gmat Online was launched because of COVID, the COVID situation, because test centers were shut. However, it comes down to what you feel more comfortable with. So funnily enough, I was speaking to a test prep organization in Australia today, and they were saying that some people just prefer doing it in test centers, whereas others are very comfortable doing it at home. The tip with doing it at home is, and this goes for your practice as well, be serious about it. So the same, even when preparing, when you're doing your study, you need to put the dog outside, turn off the TV, turn off your phone, and treat it like a real exam. And likewise, do it when you do it at home, set it up, but treat it seriously. Don't think that you can relax because you're at home. So the advantage of doing it online actually is that you can practice exactly the way you would do it. You can be in the same room, everything's the same. Whereas going to a test center, the test center is going to feel different. If the person's next to you is, as I said, is coughing or sneezing, that might be a distraction. But again, it's personal preference.
Okay, thank you. And I also have another question.
Yep.
Okay, so for Exec, we accept for both tests, definitely for offline and online. And as you know, for other schools, is any school have a preferences? Maybe they only accept online, or maybe they only accept offline, as you know.
As far as I'm aware, nobody has any preference because again, the schools were very keen for it to be put online because of the need to recruit. So the schools were very welcoming to the online option. So I have not heard any issues with it at all.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. And in the future, so as we know, because of the COVID-19, so GMAC is a very fast action to develop this online test system. So in the future, maybe a few years later, once the pandemic finish, are we still going to the online, or we use online replace offline?
At the moment, Gmat Online is continuing. I suspect that because life has changed, I think a lot of the changes that have taken place in the past 12 months will become a way of life. Even these virtual webinars now are so normal. They're so convenient. You know, it's so much easier for me to jump on this versus fly into Singapore to do it in person. So I think that a lot of the changes will stay in place, and that goes across even with regards to study, virtual classes and so forth. And with that, one thing for candidates to remember is virtual business has been a way of life for a long time. So for me, even though I'm based in Hong Kong, I usually don't look after Hong Kong as a market. I did last year, but for 6 years I haven't. So most of my work, except for I have traveled a lot, but most of my work has been virtual. So last year actually didn't bother me at all because I'm used to it. It's quite comfortable actually.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, there's a
question.
Yeah, I'll send the questions. And
Okay.
maybe you answer first.
Yeah, they should see that. The one thing to remember with Gmat is schools, as far as we're aware, accept the highest score regardless. Schools are very understanding that you might have a bad day, something might have happened, and so you can do the exam more than once, and the highest score is what candidates will look like. So regarding Gmat Online, my understanding is if you do it twice and the second score is higher, the first one's cancelled, but they will, they can see both scores if you then go to the test centre option. But as I said, schools do sort of look at the highest score anyway. And you'll find, I can tell you, I was a faculty member at KAIST, but I'm not a PhD. I've personally recently been looking at DBAs and so forth. I've looked at them for years, and my graduate studies, I did very, very well, but my undergraduate, I was not a star student, and yet no one's asked me about those grades, and they haven't even asked about the masters or anything. They just asked about sort of work experience. So I wouldn't worry too much about those scores. As I've said, it's the entire package that schools are going to be looking at. So, and Johnny can add to that.
Yeah, as an addition,
ESSEC looks at it.
Yeah, as an addition answer for this candidate. So we are looking at your highest score. It doesn't matter to take online or offline. So we will combine all the score together as long as you didn't cancel, and we only take the highest score to assess you.
Yes, and that likewise, it's the entire package. So a bit of advice, Johnny may be able to elaborate more when doing your resume. I advise candidates list everything they've done and then pick out what's relevant, because what you think is not so important or interesting for someone else might be. I did a leadership course a few years ago at CCL in Singapore, and it was interesting. One of the guys said to me, "You've got a very interesting background." And I said, "Well, compared to some of the people I know, it doesn't seem so interesting." And he said, "Oh, you should be talking about it more." So list everything and then pick and choose. Do you agree with that, Johnny?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. Okay, I have another question for you. So as we know, for traditional GMAT tests, they have a limitation. Like if I'm not wrong, it's a whole life. They only can take 8 times.
Yes.
And in between first test and second test, they must more than 1 month or 2 weeks time. Yes. And is there any limitation for the online GMAT test?
At the moment, Gmat is twice is the limit.
So they only can take twice.
Yes, but they can take Gmat a total of 8 times. So they'll have to go into a test center.
Okay. So I can so I can see altogether they have a 10 times chance, which is 8 times for offline, 2 times for online.
At the moment, I think that's the case. I would check mba.com just to double check that. I don't want to mislead anyone, because to be honest, I don't do too many information sessions, so I'm not always up to speed. But just double check that on on mba.com.
Yeah.
But the limit of 8 times, if you've taken it 8 times, at some point you're going to have to actually apply, right? So I wouldn't just keep taking Gmat for the sake of taking it.
Correct. You are right. Okay, thank you so much. Oh, there is another questions coming. Maybe I can read the questions for you. So the candidate is asking, is Gmat score usually an important factor in scholarship evaluation? Okay, I think this is actually this is for the admission from the school. So, yeah, maybe just you have a more experience for the other schools. You can give the answer first and followed by my answers too, especially for ESSEC MBA program. Yeah.
Okay, so Gmat for scholarships depends upon the school. Every school sort of uses Gmat slightly differently. Some schools will say that the essay is most important. Other schools will say Gmat is most important. So it very much varies. So I can't give a specific answer. Scholarships can vary also based on, diversity within the class, obviously, if you're from a small country where people, not many people go into graduate management education, schools may be more interested in you than from other markets where they see a lot of you. So it's, you have to ask the school directly. One piece of advice when talking to schools is, and I'm speaking personally, not as a GMAC person, but some candidates like to try to negotiate. So they go to one school saying, you're offering 30%, the school down the road's offering 40%. What are you going to do about it? Schools don't like that. So just be careful how you handle those sorts of negotiations.
Thanks, Jason. So I follow these questions, give the answer exactly for ESSEC MBA. So we have a various of the scholarship. So one scholarship designed for GMAT score is called high potential scholarship. So if you have a good GMAT score, especially more than 700, you can avoid for this scholarship. But other than that, as Jason mentioned, we have another type of scholarship like a diversity scholarship, like a new market scholarship, like a leadership scholarship. So it depends on the individual profile and performance, and also your past experience. You can entitle to different type of the scholarship. And also for GMAT score, it's important, but I cannot say it's all for admission. So for MBA admission is overall assessment, is including your communication skills, your career objectives, and how you manage yourself, your strength, weakness. So Gmat is only one thing to show your prediction, especially for the logic thinking, and to show your mathematical calculation, this kind of skills, but not all. So which is for most of the MBA program, include ESSEC MBA program, we will take interview with you to understand you better, to understand your work profile, experience, global experience, career objective, and understand your future. Then we can determine whether you are suitable for the program and how much scholarship can offer for you. So GMAT is only one key thing for the application, but doesn't mean it's all for the application. I hope this can help you.
Yes, I think there's some that's very important to highlight those points, that it is one part of the application, it's not the whole of the application. So it's definitely, you need to pay attention to it and put in the effort, but at the same time, you do need to look at your resume, essay, anything else that the school asks for. One advantage of GMAT is, for example, the extracurricular. So certain markets in Asia, for example, volunteering is not as popular as some of the Western markets, and that's partly just because of the way society is. People work longer hours, they don't have the time. So GMAT can actually sort of compensate for some of these areas where you may perceive that you're not performing as well as someone from the US, for example, where there might be more volunteering opportunities. So that's something to consider for GMAT. But again, you should have a clear reason as to why you want to do an MBA, and just think about everything. One example is when I was in Korea years ago and I used to apply for jobs, I used to put down that I had a black belt in martial arts in Korea, and the Korean bosses loved it because to them it showed an interest in Korean culture. So you'll be surprised how things can be interpreted.
Okay, thanks, Jesse. I think the last questions for you, which is the candidates asking, if the candidates take the both tests offline and online and sending the score to the school, and how the school know which one is online, which one is offline?
So the schools at the moment are using different systems in which to access the information. So they're able to see that it's a different exam that they're they're looking at.
I think in terms of the test report also different, right?
Yes.
I saw the two type of the test report. The report is totally different. So we're able to see very clearly which one is offline, which one is online.
And also, since writing is not included, that shows as well.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Jason. I think we have answered all the questions.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Johnny, and best of luck to all of you. It's always, doing graduate management education's a fun, interesting, and challenging opportunity. So best of luck.
Thank you so much, Jason.
Thanks, Johnny.
Okay, so we really appreciate Jason give us a wonderful presentation to tell you how to prepare for your Gmat test, which is this is one of the key things you need to prepare for the business school application. And now we're talking about how you finance your MBA application. So we welcome Mei Yang from Prodigy Finance. It's our honor to get Mei Yang to present how the Prodigy Finance to support your Exec MBA applications. Okay, it's your turn for Mei Yang. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jason, for this opportunity, and also for Johnny for organizing this panel. It's amazing to be here with everyone to talk through the Prodigy Finance story. So let me get started very quickly. Just maybe with first the introduction about myself. So I am basically the country head for the India market, looking after growth and partnerships for Prodigy Finance. And I have been with the company for not so long, but just about a year. But it's been obviously a very interesting time, given that I've seen the changes in the whole higher education landscape, which COVID and the pandemic brought through. But having said that, it's very encouraging to see that all the data that you look at shows that MBA as a degree, MBA as a course has gotten stronger even through the pandemic, and there is much more stronger demand for this particular degree as we come out of the pandemic. So that's basically a good thing to start with. And just to sort of highlight, the reason why Prodigy exists today is basically to reduce the barrier to education. And we have seen with data, we have seen across so many different stories that funding is typically the biggest barrier that a student has when it comes to getting access to higher education. So that's the reason why Prodigy Finance exists. We want to solve and help you cross that barrier. Coming back to the roots, right? How did the company start? So the company was started in 2007 by students who were planning or dreaming to go to INSEAD Business School in France. They had admits from the business school, but then because they were coming from outside of France, they were international students, much like you guys are, they were not able to secure any kind of financing for their MBA. And because of that, they had to actually wait for 1 full year, defer their admit to INSEAD, and then apply and enter again next year. Right, so that was the pain which they had faced. And when they started the classes at INSEAD Business School, they realized that almost all the international students that were present in the class of INSEAD MBA were facing similar kind of problems, and they had similar stories to share. So I think that became the root or the genesis of the company. And our co-founders, Cameron Stevens, he's the CEO, he decided that he should right away jump and try to solve this problem. So immediately after his MBA, he launched the company, and what he tried to do was really unique. The initial idea was to sort of go back to alumni of different schools and pool money for future students coming for that same school. That's how we started. That's how we said that, okay, we'll solve the problem for higher education financing, and we designed the product in a way which we wanted to make it very, very friendly and very, very acceptable to the customer. So from the very outset, we said that, okay, it has to be an online product. It has to be a product without co-signer, without collateral. And that's where our core thesis came into play, where we said, okay, we have to make sure that education does not have a barrier. Education is accessible to everyone. And since then, we have come obviously a long way. Today, we have supported more than 20,000 students globally. We have 750 plus schools globally that we are supporting right now. In total, we have dispersed and funded over $1 billion worth of student loans. And in terms of nationalities, we have covered 150 plus nationalities that we have financed and funded. From a footprint perspective, we have 3 offices in London, Cape Town, and New York, and we have roughly around 200 employees across these locations, including India as well. And then again, very interesting to see that we have seen in our data that a large proportion of our students come from emerging markets. And emerging markets are where the biggest challenges are in terms of higher education financing, right? Because if you think of America as a country, there are lots of options for Americans to study in America. Even if you come, if you think about a UK national, a British national, if he or she wants to study in US, there will be much better options for them in terms of seeking financing and getting, let's say, education loan. The challenge really lies when it comes to countries such as India, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Indonesia, these kind of countries, which have a lot of aspirations because they know these countries are largely middle class and they want to get to the next level by going through higher education. But then when they look at countries such as US, which is, let's say, very strong in terms of MBA education, the banks there do not recognize the credit history that they have built in their home countries, right? And because of that, there are a lot of challenges that they face in terms of securing funding for their higher education. So for emerging markets, we know that we have built a product which solves that problem. And then we have also realized from our data that 82% of students that came to us did not really have any other option viable to them. If you go to local banks, they will ask for 100% collateral. Or if you're looking to go to the US, they will ask for a co-signer who is a US national. Right? Both of these things are very difficult, are not common to have, and hence the Prodigy solution comes into play very nicely. So with that overview, let me quickly walk through how the Prodigy loan process works. Again, as I said, we have designed it to be very straightforward, very simple. It's a completely online process. As I said earlier, you do not require a cosigner, you do not require a collateral. You can get an offer in as quickly as 1 to 5 days, and you have a repayment term which goes up to 20 years. We give you a loan letter which you can use for your visa purposes. We offer highly competitive interest rates, and we also do not charge you any kind of penalties if you are making repayments earlier. So again, the core thinking is that we want to design it as a product which is friendly to the students, because we have been in the same boat. We have experienced the difficulties that you guys have faced. Cool. So then, very quick snapshot of how you can actually go ahead and apply for the loan. You just go to our website, prodigyfinance.com. You'll see that there is some call to actions which says get a code, join a list, something like that. You click on that and you can start the application process right away by creating an account with Prodigy Finance. You'll also notice that there is this sort of pop-up which comes here, which is what we call our ambassador network. So you can actually chat with an existing Prodigy customer who might have gone to a school which you are planning to go to, and then engage with that person, and the person will actually answer any question that you might have. So that's an additional feature we are providing to our customers. We are sort of building and ramping up a network of Prodigy ambassadors who can help incoming students like you and address any kind of questions that you might have. Moving on, the other thing that you can do is you can actually search your school, right? So in this case, you can go to this particular page, which you call the student loan page. You can search for ESSEC Business School, and then you can see whether or not the school is supported by us. Once you find a school which is supported by us, you can actually, for example, click on that school and then get the list of different courses that we support under that school, and also get some interesting insights of what kind of funding we have offered in the past for students going to that school or course. Which looks something like this, right? So we are saying that, okay, for MBA, we have offered 13 loans in the past. The average loan size is USD 25,000 with an estimate monthly repayment of USD 300, right? So that's how you can check your particular school. You can look at ESSEC Business School, for example, look at the admin fee, look at the charges that you will be getting, and get a decent sense of how your loan will look like. Cool. And then coming quickly to the application process, as I said, first of all, you have to register an account with Prodigy Finance. Then you have to start an application. Starting an application takes you 20 to 30 minutes. It's a step-by-step process in which you have to provide some information such as which is the school that you're going, and a couple of other details. And then once you submit the application, what you get is basically what we call a loan quote. Once you have a loan quote, it gives you all the details telling you that, okay, this is the amount that we'll fund for you based on the information you have provided. We tell you the recommended repayment years. Is it 7 years or 20 years that we are recommending? We tell you the rate of interest, and we tell you the APR. Once you have the APR, you can actually take that APR number and compare this particular offer from Prodigy with other competing banks or other lenders. So APR is, I don't know if you know, APR is a standard terminology which is representative of how expensive or how cheap your loan offer is as compared to other lenders. And once you have done your research, you have looked at all other options out there, and you're convinced that Prodigy Finance is the lender for you, you can start the verification process by uploading certain documents. And that process takes a few weeks at the maximum, where we review all the documents that you ask, that you have provided. If there is something additional that we require, we get in touch with you, and all of that happens completely online. The communication is established via email. You can also call us if there are questions, and it can happen very quickly. Once the verification process is completed, you basically have to do nothing. We basically get you to a stage which says that your loan is approved. And then finally, when you have maybe 3 to 4 weeks before you're starting your classes, we email you a digital contract which you have to sign. And up till this point, there is no commitment. There is no money that you have paid to us. You can actually walk away. You can change your mind. You can decide to go next year or whatsoever, right? So just before, until 3 weeks or maybe 4 weeks before your classes start, we send you the loan agreement which you have to sign, again digitally. And once you sign, we send the money directly to the university. If, for example, you have taken a loan which comprises both the tuition fee and the living expenses, then what we do is we send the entire amount to the university, and then the university is responsible for sending you the portion which is for the living expense. They keep the tuition and they send the remaining living expense to you in your US bank account or in your UK or French bank account. So that's how it typically works. And then finally, coming to the repayment does not start for the next 30 months. So you have to complete your graduation, your 2 years, and then we offer you another 6 months of grace period, which allows you to settle down into a job, into maybe a new city that you're moving to. And then once you have passed that period, that's when you can start repaying your monthly dues. And that all of that can happen via our mobile app. You can download that mobile app from the stores, Apple or Android, and start making those repayments. And as I said earlier, there are no penalties if you are paying early. You can, if you, let's say, get a bonus, a sign-in bonus or joining bonus from your company, you can take parts of that money, put it back to the loan, and then that will also reduce the interest, and then you do not incur any extra penalties on that. Cool. So just to wrap it up, just some information about how you can connect with us. We are there on Instagram. We have a YouTube channel. We are on LinkedIn, and also we have a blog section on our website. which has a lot of content which you might find useful. And then, as I mentioned earlier, if you are going through the application process, you can email us with your questions, you can call us, and you can also chat us, which pops up within your dashboard once you have registered an account. So that's all from my side. Open for any kind of questions. Happy to help in that sense.
Okay, thank you so much. You really give the very useful information. Okay, we give some time for candidates to raise up the questions, but I have one question for you. So which is, how do you think when is the best time for candidates to submit a request to start the process for loan? The reason being is usually for MBA application, we have a full round. So round 1 is start from last year, October, and currently we're round 2, round 3, round 4 until end of June. So, so when is the best time for them to start the loan application? So once they get an offer from the school, pay the deposit, or they can start earlier and go through the process with the application to the school together. What is your advice?
Sure, that's a great question. Thank you, Johnny. Yeah, I think one important point for our process is that you, as a student, do not need an admit to start the loan application, right? So if, let's say, you have applied in round 1 and you don't even have an admit from a school, or maybe you have applied to 5 schools, you have admits from 4 and 1 of them you are actually waiting for. So what you can do, you can actually create an account with Prodigy Finance, and you can start 5 different applications, right? For each school, you can start 1 application in parallel. And as you submit each of those applications, you will get a quote for all of those. And each quote might be different based on the school being based out of US, or another might be in UK or something of that sort, or in France, for example. So each quote could be slightly different. You could get different interest rates, you would get different loan amount sanctioned, but all of that you can do without having to show any kind of documentation, be it admit proof or something like that. Eventually, let's say a few weeks down the line, so maybe 1 or 2 months later, once you have a firm decision that, okay, this is the particular school that you want to go for, and that is ESSEC Business School, what you can do is you can email us and say that, okay, I have 4 other applications for other schools which I want to cancel, and the 1 application that I have for ESSEC Business School is the one I want to continue with, right? And then all of that will be done automatically on the back end, and then what we will be left with is just 1 application for ESSEC. And then from there, you can start submitting the documents for verification. And at this stage, we will ask you to provide the admit letter. If you have, let's say, received a scholarship, we'll ask you to provide the proof of scholarship and so on and so forth.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much. Okay, there have candidates raised up the questions. Maybe I can read for you and you can answer the questions. Okay, so I have a candidate asking, how long does it normally take to review the application?
Yeah, sure. So, so the first part of the application is what we call the quotation, right? And you can actually create a quotation for the application in 30 minutes. And as part of this process, you have to just go through like a step-by-step process, answer a few questions on the website, and in 30 minutes, you'll be done, and you can submit the application and you can get a quotation for the loan. And then that quotation is basically something that will tell you that, okay, we'll give you $40,000 at, let's say, 4 or 5% interest. The duration would be, let's say, 10 years with a monthly repayment tenure schedule of, I don't know, $300 or something like that. So that you can get done within 30 minutes, max 40 minutes. But then once you know that this is the loan that you want to take, you want to go with Prodigy Finance as your lender, the verification process starts, where you are submitting the documents and our teams are verifying the validity of those documents. So in that case, also the best case, I've seen the verification to complete within 10 business days, right? So if the documents that you provide are all good quality, everything is clear, all the information that we are asking for is available in the documents, we can have you verified within 10 days. But obviously, things are complicated. We're dealing with students from 150 different nationalities, and every nationality have their own problems with regards to documents. So it does get tricky at times, and then it does take time to sort out those specific customer-specific issues, right? So in that case, it might get elongated a little bit, but then it is also up to you to drive it forward, right? If you are able to provide what we are asking for quickly, then we are also looking to turn it around very, very fast. But that can get extended slightly, but not too much. And it is still a much, much faster process than any local bank or lender in general.
Okay, thank you. And the candidate is also asking, due to the COVID-19, is there any funding capacity applied for the study loan? So is there any maximum amount they can borrow?
The maximum amount that one can borrow depends on the country and also on the school that they are going to. We typically, as a ballpark, there are some schools and institutions for which we are providing 100% of the cost of attendance. And then the lowest amount that we typically fund is 80% of the tuition fee. So that's typically the range. And also, if let's say the student has their specific scenarios where they have maybe already taken some debt, which is reflecting on their credit histories or credit scores, then that becomes an individual case. But generally speaking, we are able to, in most cases, we are able to honor the request that you are making for the dollar value. And if not, we are trying to always get to as close to possible as much you're asking. Over the last 1 year, we have noticed that students are asking for more money. We have seen a hike in terms of the money that they have been asking us over the years. And in line with that, we have also increased the amount of money we are offering to the students in return. So we are always striving to minimize the gap. It is great if we can give 100% of what is asked, but that is not always the case. But we do always try to reduce the gap as much as possible.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And also, they have another questions. Is there any key areas for Prodigy Finance looking at when they approve the loan for students? So is there any specific requirements like a student must to, in the past few years, must work, have a stable income, or must have a property? Or is there any key areas you are looking at when you approve the loan?
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, see, it's very interesting because we don't look at the past of the student. We only look at the future earning potential, and that's the model that the company is based on. We look at the student, and we say that okay, the student is going to ESSEC Business School, and we know because we work closely with ESSEC Business School, we know broadly that okay, that's the kind of average salaries they can get after they graduate, or maybe 5 years down the line. That's the level that they can get to, right? And that's the data we have access to thanks to the school. And based on that, we always are able to assess that okay, if the student is going to a particular business school or taking a particular course, that's the earning potential, right, for that student. And then based on that, we offer them an appropriate amount of tuition of loan, with the thinking that making sure that okay, if the earning is X, and we don't want to make sure that we have a debt burden on the student, which is making life difficult for them. So that's the underlying philosophy. We want to make sure that the student is able to pay back the loan in a comfortable fashion. So that's the main thesis. And also to add to that point, we have a lot of customers who are going for masters, MS in the US. So they are fresh out of undergrad college. So all of them do not have any kind of credit history. They do not have any work experience as well, right? They just graduate from undergrad schools and they go for their MS. So there's no such requirement for you. It's just that it's a different way we look at things. We look at the future income potential rather than looking at the history or looking at the property or the land assets you have.
Thank you. I believe this logic is a kind of investment. So you believe the candidates who enroll for the top business school, they have a good future. So they're able to get a loan and they're able to pay back in a few years later. Yeah,
exactly.
It's a very good logic. Okay, thank you so much. And okay, I have a question for you. And sure. I used to have a student to get a study loan from Prodigy. which I understand she borrowed the amount which is able to cover the whole tuition fee after deduct the scholarship and also pass the expenses within the 1 year durations. And it's possible for students to choose the amount they can borrow. So for example, if I'm the student, I get an offer from ESSEC, but I only want to borrow half of the tuition fees, or maybe 20%
Yes.
or 30%. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all in the control of the student. And we have also seen cases where students, let's say, start a loan application asking for an amount, let's say $40,000, but then 2 months down the line, they receive a scholarship from somewhere they had applied for, right? So maybe then they can always revise the amount that they need. They can write to us, email us, and say that, okay, I've got a scholarship for 20,000, so now I only need $20,000 worth of loan. So all of that is possible. Everything is flexible, everything is customizable, and you have no commitment till you sign the loan agreement, which is 3 weeks before you start your course. So all of that is addressable very easily.
Okay, cool, fantastic. I think all the questions has been solved, and I think the best way for candidates, if they want to test whether they are eligible to apply the loan, they need to go through the system, right? They need to log in, create an account, and submit the profile, and Prodigy Finance will review the application, review the profile, and give the advice. So before that, nobody can guarantee, okay, how much you can get a loan and whether you can get a loan, right? So they still need to go through the application process and submit all the relevant documents and get the Prodigy Finance the team to overall assess, then give the conclusions.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Miyang, and thank you so much for your presentation. I think Prodigy is really helpful for the future candidates. And as I know, we have every year, as I have more than 200 students get loan from Prodigy Finance. And they are really useful and helpful, especially for those students from new market, emergency market. Yeah, it's very helpful for the future business leaders. Thank you so much for the sessions. Yeah, and we can keep in touch. And I believe for the sessions, they have a lot of candidates. They have questions, and we will share the recording session to them, and we will here to receive the questions from them for the future. And for my side, if I have any candidates have a question related to the financing study loans, I will definitely contact you.
All right. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Johnny. It was lovely. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Okay, so now it's my turn to introduce our program. Let me just share a screen to you. Okay, we are very happy to get Jason from GMAC and Miyang from Prodigy Finance to give us a nice presentation to let you know how to prepare your application in terms of how to prepare your Gmat, and also once you get an offer, how to prepare your finance to supporting your MBA application. A very nice session. So now it's my turn to introduce my program to you, and let me introduce how the ESSEC Global MBA to transform yourself in your future careers. Okay, so introduce myself first. My name is Johnny, and I'm GMBA recruiter. I'm in charge of the GMBA application for APAC region. So if you have any questions, if you want to know whether you are suitable for the program and how the program can help you, feel free to contact me. I'm happy to give you the answers and speak to you. Okay, so let's restart the introduction for the ESSEC Business School. And by this current year 2021 Financial Times ranking, ESSEC Business School is the #6 best European business school. And also we have a triple crown accreditations, which is the ACSB, Mba, and the EQUIS. So just take a note, in this world, less than 1% of the university and the business school, they have all these triple crown accreditation. So when you're looking at a business program, especially for MBA program, this triple crown accreditation is very important, which is recognized by the industry. And here are the ESSEC Business School history. We have a very long history. We established by 1907 in France. And you can see from here, this is a past 100 years history, and we have a lot of milestone. By 2005, ESSEC Business School have get a Singapore government invitation, so we have a campus in Singapore by 2005, and until now we successful continue operation more than 15 years. So which is currently I'm based in Singapore campus, but I will recruit students for both Singapore campus and France campus. Okay, so you can see from here, currently we have 4 campus over the world plus 1 digital campus, which is we have 2 campus in France. Sturgis is our main campus, so which we have more than 7,000 students study there, including bachelor degree, master degree, MBA, and also we have La Défense, which is a financial center of Paris. So we have an executive program there, Mba program there, and also part of the GMB modules also teaching there. And we have a Singapore campus. So Singapore campus also have a bachelor degree, master, and MBA program. Especially for the MBA program, is very flexible. You have a choices to study either in France or Singapore, and also in between you can transfer to each other. So which is a one program allow you to study in the 2 countries to get the different kind of experience. Also, and last, we have the Morocco campus, which is in Africa. And but so far, the American campus is more for bachelor degree level, so which is not involved for the MBA program. Okay, talking about the MBA program ranking, you can see from here, in QS 2021 ranking, we are number 2 in Asia, number 27 in the world. And according to Financial Times ranking, we are number 13 in terms of international experience, number 19 in terms of international mobility, and overall ranking, we are number 6 as European Business School. So this is a ranking about the GMBA program. And here are the summarize for the program. ESSEC Global MBA program is a 1-year full-time program, and starting date is every year September. The program is teaching English, so if you do not speak any French, no worries, you can still enroll for the program. And during the program, we will teach you French language as one of the elective module, which is prepare you better, can speak certain French language, and able to help you to find a careers in France after you complete the program. But this is an option elective modules. And I have a mission, so this program is teaching the 2 campuses, France and Singapore. So we have 2 focus on major, luxury brand management and digital strategy leadership. So for luxury brand management is mainly studying in France. And for another track, strategy digital leadership, you totally have an option to study in both campuses. And the program is 12 months, which is 9 months academic study. You need to go through the classroom learning. And another 3 months is a capstone project or internship, depends on the company, which is happening in the summertime from June to September before you graduate. And within the program, they have a lot of business trips and industry visit. So basically you will visit minimum 3 countries, maximum 5 countries for the business trips. So probably take around 2 to 3 weeks, all students together. We will arrange for you, and every day they have a industry visit, company visit. You will attend certain workshop, and you will attend some business leader talks during your business trips. And over the 1-year programs, you have more than 30 companies experience. Either you will visit them, and either we will invite them to give the speech to our students. Okay, so this is a highlight, and also this is a focus for our program. Through the programs, we have a business trips. I have a mission. We will visit Amsterdam, Luxembourg for strategic digital leadership track. And for luxury brand management track, we will visit Italy, New York, and Shanghai, which is the luxury industry centers over the world. And within the program, we will build up the one-to-one mentorship programs, which is we were getting our alumni to help from those certain industries to come to speak to you, give you the mentorship talks. Make sure when you complete the program, you're able to have enough skills and knowledge to enter your new industry as well. And also we believe to building you to the industry networking. So which is we have arranged a lot of workshops, soft skills training, business leadership talks to make sure you understand the networking and able to train networkings to link to your future careers. Okay, so here the topics why you need to take an MBA. So we take the data from the QS MBA ROI calculator. This is a very useful and very special tools, which is you can participate by yourself, and you can just easily to log in the website and choose the school you are looking for, and you can put your current salary. So which is after the calculation, you can see the difference. So you can see the yellow line, which is without MBA program, how's your salary increase? And with the GMB program, with the MBA program, how's your salary increase? So you can see the two figures difference. In the beginning, probably if you do not take MBA, you can have a more saving because MBA is kind of investment in terms of the money and in terms of the time. And but you can see the difference after 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, especially after 20 years, they have a huge difference in terms of the salary income, revenue income. They have a huge difference, can up to 2 million difference in your whole lives. So which is MBA still compulsory for you, especially for you if you want to have a career changing, career promotion, in terms of if you want to have a location change. So which is the MBA program is the best program for you to transforming yourself and upgrade yourself. So which is why people took MBA program. So this is based on the record, based on our school programs record, 64% of the people able to change location. So after the program, they move to one country to another country. 61% of the people able to change job function. So they have a, maybe they are still in the same industry, but they have a change of function from sales, maybe to the strategic planning, from retail, probably to the marketing. And almost 80% of the people able to change new industry. So that's why a lot of IT engineering expert, within few years experience, they decide to take MBA, then they can move to a new industry. They can work in the consulting firms. And this is the majority of the reason why people want to take MBA. And although through the MBA programs, you can gain a lot of international exposure because they have a business trips, because you have a classmate from over the world. So your peers, your classmates were able to provide a different kind of the living experience to you. So you can learn from each other. Okay, here are the reasons why you should consider ESSEC Global MBA program. So which is a 1-year program. You have an opportunity to study in either France and Singapore. One is a European country, one is an Asian country. It's a very wonderful journey for you. And another good point for you, which is our program is not only learning from the classroom. So which is you have a lot of industry visit, business trips. So which is we are providing a lot of hands-on particular experience for you. And third reason you consider as the MBA program because we are focused on the sustainability, digital transformation, and entrepreneurships. So which is we believe this is a new business trend. And it doesn't matter which industry you are going to in the future, all these 3 areas, sustainability, digital transformation, entrepreneurship skills will apply for our industry. And reason 4, our class profile is very diverse, and our students are coming from more than 21 nationalities, and most of our students have a multi-culture, multinational background. They can speak more than 4 or 5 languages. So this is a really wonderful journey for you. Within the one program, 1-year program, you can meet a lot of persons from the different background, different religion, different culture, and different languages. So you can learn from them. And the last and not least, so our MBA program, they have 2 focus, which is one of the luxury brand management, and another one is strategic digital leadership. Okay, and so which is the office mission. MBA is different with the traditional master program. Is no longer kind of academic learning. Is more like networking and soft skills training, which is we will link you to the real industry, and we will give you enough hands-on particular experience to help you grooming yourself to suitable for the future careers. Okay, let's be talking about the admission criteria. So which is who are the best candidates for ESSEC MBA program? At least you need to have a 25 years old, and at least you need to have a 3 years work experience. So which is the MBA different with the master? MBA is designed for the younger managers. So 3 years working experience is compulsory. And if you have a certain kind of the leadership skills, leadership roles, not necessarily must be a manager, but you better lead a team before or lead a project before, that is wonderful. And also if you have a working experience on board, which is in overseas, you're working overseas, or you're working in the MNC company with the international element, will also benefit for your application as well. And you need to have a bachelor degree. This is the minimum requirement. And you need to provide the Gmat and the GRE score. And for this program, of which Gmat score is around 650. And of course, we have a acceptance range from 550 up to 700. If you have a better Gmat score or GRE score, you can get more scholarship as well. And last but not least, you need to have an advanced level of English. So if your bachelor degree or master degree not studied through English language, you need to provide the English language certification like IELTS or TOEFL. But if you study or your native language English, this kind of test can be waived. So once again, highlight about the MBA class profile. We are looking at the candidates from 25 to 34 years old, and of which class profile is 6 years working experience, and of which age is 30. Our students is coming from more than 20 nationalities and coming from different kind of industry. So this is a study schedule for the MBA program. You can see from there for luxury brand management is all studied in France, because France is still central of the luxury. And for strategic digital leadership, you have all the options to study in France or Singapore. In between, you can transfer to each other. You also can take the whole program in the one country as well. And followed by the capstone project from summer, which is June to September. Also, this is a compulsory. And you can depend on the school assign the project for you. Also, you can depends on your interest and depends on your opportunity to look for the project for yourself. But this project is compulsory. And before you complete the program by October, you need to finish the project and present to the school or companies. And talking about the school fees, so for the current year, this year intake, the tuition fee is 46,000 euros. Convert to Singapore dollars is 75,400. Yeah, this is the same value, just presenting the different currencies. And this is the application process. So everything to online. You need to prepare your Gmat and the GRE test ready. Then you can submit the application. Without these two tests, you cannot complete your application. Yeah, and you can see from here, we have 5 rounds of the application. Round 1, round 2 already finished, and round 3 is going to end by 21st of February, and followed by round 4 and round 5. So if you have a Gmat and GRE ready, recommend that you submit application as soon as possible. In the early round, you have an early bird scholarship, and also you have a high chances to get into the program with a good scholarship as well. Okay, so this is my introduction of my program. The time is just nice, so I leave 10 minutes for the Q&A sessions. Okay, let me pick up the questions. Okay, then a candidate asked if the student apply without any international experience but working in the MNC company. So how, what kind of the things is they need to show? Okay, so this is talking about the global exposure. So which is during your, when you submit the CV, you better to highlight the global experience. So which is a global experience, including whether you have a study overseas before, or whether you have attend any summer program or exchange program, whether you have an overseas project. And if you work with the MNC company, you can highlight for that. So in your departments, if you have a foreign colleagues, or if you deal with the foreign clients or customers, you all can highlight. So all this is considered as a global experience. So which is I have a mission. So for GMB, application process or admission process is the overall assessment. So Gmat is one of the reason, global experience is one of the reason, and also your career objective and your GPA and your profile. So global experience is important, but it's not the only things we are looking at. So which is, we are preferred if you have a certain global experience, but if you really don't have, it's still okay, you still can submit the application. So we will based on the other factor to assess your application. Okay, and I will pick up the second questions. If someone have a experience of 4 to 5 years, have an age of 26 to 27, will it impact the selection criteria? Okay, so honestly speaking, 4 to 5 years and the age 26, 27 are still earlier compared with the average of the class 4. So we are more looking at your Gmat, GPA, and also your career objectives. Which is I cannot say you have a totally no chance to get into the program. Every year we are accepting the younger applications, but you need to have an outstanding performance, which is you can show in your GPA, Gmat, and also your career objectives, which is how you did your IC. Okay, hope I have answered your questions. And okay, I will pick up the next questions. So the student were asking how the COVID-19 to impact on the 3 to 5 business trips. Okay, so this is a good question, but actually we don't know yet. This is really depends on the situation. So which is I can show you example for last batch of the student from 2019 batch of student, yes. And they supposed to go for business trip by 2020 March, which is the last year March. But because of the COVID-19, so they postponed the trip until September, last year September. So during the time, last year September, October time, Europe is quite relaxed. So all the countries still open the board and able to approve visa. So that's why for 2020 intake, all of our students able to get a French visa and study there. So suddenly the COVID-19 become worse from November. So which is some of the classes turn to Zoom. So this is really depend on the situation. And for the current batch of the student, for 2020 batch student, they plan to have a trip by this year, 2021 March. And because due to the COVID-19, I think they also will postpone the business trip to the later on, which is probably by this year, September, August or September. So I can see that business trip is still guaranteed because this is one of the key things for the MBA program. But whether when this happens, this is a question mark. So as a school side, we need to make sure safety and health as a first priority for the student. But we will still make it when the situation going to smooth or going to better. Yeah. So it just doesn't matter when will this happen, but this is definitely will happen during the program. Okay, for the next questions, do we accept Talkie? Yes, we accept the Talkie as an English certification. Yeah, so you can check this from the website. So we have a list of all the requirements. For example, for IELTS, we are accepting 6.5, TOEFL, which is 90, and Talkie, if I'm not wrong, is 800. Yeah. Okay, I will pick up the next question. So the student asking about what's the minimum Gmat score requirements and what is the average score. So average score for the class profile is 650. So you can take this as a benchmark. And if you ask me the minimum score, I can tell you the among the score is around 500 to 550. So which is it depends. If you have a really good GPA, and if you have a good global experience and you're already in the certain level of the manager role, if your Gmat is not so good, still okay, we can accept. But if you are very young, only 26, 27, GPA not good, and the Gmat also not good, only have a 530, 40, that is a chances to be rejected. Yeah, so I can see this is the overall assessment, but ideal score to submit, which is 550 above. But anything between 500 to 550, you need to have another strength to show during your applications. Okay, next questions. Candidate asking, students start in Singapore, have any opportunity to study in Paris for some time during the 12 months? Yes. So which is apply for the strategy digital leadership track. They have 3 terms. Every term is around 3 months. So in between, you can decide to which campus you want to study. So you can start from Singapore, then you move to France for 3 months, then you come back for Singapore for another 3 months. Or you can start from Singapore for 3 months, then you move to France for the rest of the 6 months. It's all up to you. You can design your own study trips as well. Okay, and the next questions, what is the latest trend of the background or nationality of student in Singapore campus? Okay, I can see Singapore campus still have a majority student from Singapore, but not necessarily must be a Singaporean, but they are working adults in Singapore. So either they are Chinese, they are Malay, Malaysia, they are Indonesia, or they are European people, they are based in Singapore. And when they think they need to take MBA to transform themselves, they need to looking for the bigger opportunities, they will take the MBA program. So Singapore campus, the majority student still from Singapore, but not necessarily must be a Singaporean. So which is they are working in Singapore. Yeah. Okay, and people asking about, so for 2019 and 2020, only one business trip. No, they still have 2. Yes, still have 2. They are busy Amsterdam and Luxembourg for the last year. And for the this upcoming year, we are still planning for these 2 places, but we don't know yet. We will monitor the situation, so we will decide by after June or July. So for strategy digital leadership track, they will visit Amsterdam and Luxembourg, and of course France. So by end of March, they have a digital week competition. So everybody need to move to the France campus for 2 weeks. So this is the result of COVID-19. And for luxury brand management, they have a visit New York, Italy, and Shanghai. So these 3 places is also central of the luxury. So they will visit these 3 places for luxury industry, for luxury brand management track. Okay, next questions. Any cap on age? Actually, yes. So for MBA, we are looking at the candidates from 25 to 35, 34, 35. So I can say maximum is 34 or 35. And if the candidates beyond this age, we will recommend they will consider executive MBA. Yeah, because MBA in most of the school, they are looking at the student from 26 to 35. Everybody, if the age more than that, more than 12 years work experience, they should consider as a EMBA program. Okay, so for next questions, asking about if the student have a 4 to 5 years work experience, which program is the best for you? I can share with you. So this answer is very clear. Program, which is a Gmat program, is designed for fresh graduates. So the average age of this program is only 23. So I think if you already have a 4 to 5 years working experience, it doesn't matter how good you are, how much Gmat you have, you are unable to get into this program, unless you have a very specific reason. And I believe once you submit the application, they will still recommend you for MBA. Because for program and MBA program, they are looking at the different things. program is a 2 years master. They have foundation studies, they have an exchange program, double degree, they have an apprenticeship, and the MBA program is designed for younger manager who already have a work experience. So which is a very intensive program, it's only 1 year, focus on the soft skills training, and we do everything just to prepare you for the future job. So the 2 programs, they have a different focus. And if your age is already above 25, 26, more than 4, 5 years work experience, you have a very low chance to get into You should consider MBA program. Okay. Okay, they have candidates asking about the global experience. So which is just now have a mention. So global experience, which is including whether you have a studying overseas, whether you have attended a summer program with the overseas university, whether you have did an exchange program, whether you have working overseas. And when you work in the your local countries, either you are working in an MNC company, whether you have a deal with the foreigner colleagues or foreigner customers. So either you have a deal with the overseas projects, or either you have overseas business trips, or either you have a travel for certain countries. Yeah, all this is considered as a global experience, and also including how many languages you can speak. So all this you should reflect on your resume, and you can highlight your strength to us. Okay, I hope I have answered all the questions. Yeah, the time is just nice. We have finished all the sessions. Okay, thank you so much. And so for the candidates who register for this session, you will receive the recording later on. And feel free to contact me for any questions in terms of the Gmat preparation test, or in terms of the Prodigy Finance loan, in terms of the program details, business trips. And if you want to speak to any of the alumni or student ambassador, or if you want me to help you review your profile, feel free to contact me. I believe most of you have received my email, and that's why you come for these sessions. So feel free to contact me. I'm happy here to help you on your applications. And for ESSEC programs, ESSEC MBA programs, we welcome you to submit the application, and we hope to see you in the near future. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.